welcome in everyone to Dogs Down South. Hope you're doing well. I'm your host, Ted Turner, and it is also draft night tonight. So we're lining up with the draft to see who the headliner is going to be. It's probably going to be the draft, but anyways, happy to be with you tonight. You can find us on Dogs Down South at Facebook, YouTube. Go follow us on YouTube. Trying to get to 1,000 followers on YouTube, as well as the Twitter. And then you can hop on over to Apple Podcasts 24 hours later and find us over there. Excited tonight. We're going to hop straight in and we're going to talk draft dogs. We got a lot on the agenda just to go through tonight. Draft dogs. We're going to talk about NIL. We're going to talk about breakout players 2025, and then we're going to round it off with some Q&A and some portal stuff. So exciting show ahead, and we're watching the draft right along with you as we speak as well. So we've already seen some players' names called. I'm seeing Abdul Carter heading to New York. Obviously, New York passed on Shador. I'm also seeing Travis Hunter heading to Jacksonville, probably to play every position on the field, probably. They need him at every position. So we shall see. But let's hop straight in. We already got picks going, so let's talk about draft dogs. Obviously, a ton of talent going into the draft this year. I'm going to start going straight through them. I think some of these you may agree with, disagree with. We'll see how they land. We probably won't get to see, but 2 or 3 of these tonight. More than likely, Jalen Carter will be the first player to go off the board, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. I'm kind of using some different avenues to kind of piggyback off of, but I think Jalen Walker will go off. Did I say Carter earlier? Jalen Walker will probably go off the board first. He was the first dog to go off the board. I think he'll head to Carolina with the 8th pick. I think Carolina could use an explosive defensive player. I mean, Carolina could use a lot of things, but I think the most they could use is a explosive defensive hybrid type guy who can rush the quarterback, who can cause havoc, who can tackle, who can play the middle of the field, and has great ball skills. And I think this is a great pick for them. Then I think you'll see Mykel Williams go off the board next as an edge. I think he'll go at 16. It may be a little low. Some people have seen him at 13 with the Saints, but I think he'll go 16 to the Arizona Cardinals. I think Malachi Starks will go off the board somewhere around 30. I think he'll go around 30 to the Bills. I think he'll go to Buffalo as he'll play safety, obviously. Second round, I got Tate Ratledge, guard. Tate had so many injuries, especially towards the end of the year this past year. I think he'll go to Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia will continue the trend of drafting dogs, and you'll see them at around 64 in the second round. Tate Ratledge. I think Jared Wilson goes next in round 3. This is where you'll start seeing a lot of other players go off the board is round 3. I think New England will get Jared Wilson. I think New England, just like Philadelphia, likes what they see out of Dog Nation, and so I think Jared Wilson will go to round 3 to New England in 69. I got Smile Munden going round 3 to number 80 to Indianapolis. I think that'll be a place that Smile will land, and it'll be a steal, in my opinion, in round 3. I think Smile is going to be a really good linebacker in the league. I think he's going to be a steal there. He tackles well. He was injury prone a little bit, but I know his senior year he did a really great job, and I think Smile will turn heads in the NFL. I do. I think Dylan Fairchild will go next in round 3, around 97, pick 97 to the Vikings. This gets a little deep, right? Into round 3, but a lot of dogs are going to go off the board in round 3. I think Trevor Etienne will head out in round 4 to the Cincinnati Bengals at 119. I think the Bengals are looking for a steal there. And then I have Warren Brinson going round 5 to Minnesota. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who is questionable in my opinion if he should have stayed a year, but I'm happy for him. I think he'll go around round 5. He'll head out to Miami with the 150th overall pick. I do think Arian Smith gets his name called. I think you might see him go to New York around 154 in round 5. And then defensive tackle Nazir Stackhouse around round 6 to Detroit, pick 196. People have said that Nazir could be. I mean, it's a lottery, right? For Mister what do you call it, Mister the last pick in the draft. I forget what you call him. Anyways, and they've said, well, what if he lands there? I like Nazir. I think Nazir could do some things in the NFL. I think he has to get. I think he still has to get a little bit of his strength up to play that defensive tackle in the NFL every day. Um, and I think he needs to be a little quicker, and he's probably gonna have to get a little bit more muscle mass and a little less body weight. But I like Nazir, and then obviously a lot of names that I mean, a lot of people are going to be like, "Where's Dan Jackson? Does Dan Jackson get in?" I like Dan. I like Dan a lot. I like what Dan brought to Georgia his senior year and the role he played his junior year. But I don't know. Um, Maybe with Kirby and Georgia's household name, maybe he gets in somewhere in the 6th or 7th round. Um, if he does, it will be based solely off of just expectations of. I mean, you could see him go undrafted. It's highly unlikely that he goes drafted. I'll just throw it out there, but I mean, I hope he does. I mean, Dan Jackson is the epitome of an incredible dog, and I think he has great work ethic. He has great ball skills. He has great speed. He has very tricky speed. So I mean, man, I just I think this could be uh, a place. There's a place for Dan Jackson in the NFL. He's just got to get in the right spot. A lot of talent in the NFL. That's why they call it the pros. Yeah. So as we get ahead of the draft, and as we even see picks hopping out now, I think we just saw Will Campbell go off the board from LSU. So kind of tracking this. Speaking of draft, so I wanted to hop in on some portal discussions. Let's talk about hot topic news real quick. Mason Graham going off the board right now to Michigan. Um, so hot topic news. So NIL, obviously, a lot of stuff flying around with NIL. The latest, Nico is dead news. We know what's going on with Nico. We know that Nico's headed to UCLA, and now the big controversy is Manny Lava from out of Arkansas. So Manny is headed to UCLA as well. So I don't know if we're trying to do this, brother thing where it's like, I mean, is this I mean, maybe like I don't know. It's weird. The biggest thing we want to talk about here, past the fact that it's weird on what they're trying to do. I mean, I don't know what kind of NIL deal Manny got. I don't know if even to get Nico out there, if Manny wasn't included in the deal. It might have made him look good, but it might be more on Nico's shoulders that he got money to go out there. Because maybe the tutelage happening in the same team, maybe you see a brother combo that's there for, 4 or 5 years. Uh, no offense, not to jab it, but the Ema Lava story, I wouldn't count on seeing either of them for more than a year. Uh, as you can see, Manny, you saw him for less than 6 months, and that's why the conversation is happening right now as we start the night out is when you look at Arkansas, and you hear the collective, and you hear some of the staff pursuing this NIL money. I could not agree with them more. I mean, a lot of people have asked, what does this look like for Arkansas? Why, why is Arkansas going after this? Does this why wouldn't they? I mean, you just had a player that signed, took NIL money, and came out for spring, played spring ball, and you just leave. You don't even play a snap for Arkansas. You've taken money just to show up, maybe start some classes, maybe go to a few spring practices, and then you leave. Like, how do you keep? How does the college sport keep, like? I guess the word is keeping up with this money. I mean, I don't know how much it was, but like, let's just say it was $250,000. Like, $250,000 is life changing for some people. A lot of people. $250,000 is life changing for me. Um, and if you're not, on somebody else's podcast, listening to somebody else's podcast, where they're maybe making six figures, that's a lot of money. And he never played it down. So why wouldn't you go and recoup this money? Because this kid, and essentially, and this father, who's acting as their agent, is now doubling up on NIL money from Tennessee, I would presume, as well as now payment from UCLA, money from Arkansas, payment from UCLA. And where's this money coming from UCLA? Like, if you had this money, why hasn't it come out before now? Why have your teams, I mean, the new coach, Deshaun Foster, who knows what to expect from him? He's a name, but I don't know if he's a proven name that's going to go into UCLA. I mean, you kind of wonder if Chip Kelly couldn't go in and do anything at UCLA. How does Deshaun Foster come in? So I guess they're now that UCLA is like, well, we'll just go to the money thing. We'll go grab, you know, someone out of the portal and we'll hit money. But I guess the thing is and Kirby's talked about this, and coaches all across the SEC have talked about this, and I'm sure it's more. I'm sure the ACC and the Big Ten and all the conferences are talking about this. How do they continue to to be able to honor that money when guys are just coming in and taking it and then leaving? The situation 2 years ago with the offensive lineman from Alabama who took money and then he went back and forth. I mean, I guess he was just going to go back and forth from Auburn to Alabama and just keep taking money. It was a joke. Like it was a crazy, insane joke. And Raiders just took Ashton Genty with the sixth pick, I think. That's incredible for a running back, right? Man, it's incredible. Congratulations to that kid. But like as you look at NIL, like what is going to assure that? I personally think that I have a couple of things that I just want to throw out there that could be game changers for NIL in schools. I think the big C word needs to happen. I think contracts are going to have to be a thing. I have an idea, and here's my idea. I'm going to throw it out there, and who knows? Maybe somebody tunes into old Dawgs down south and listens to some of these ideas. So contracts. So let's talk about freshmen really quick, right? Freshmen are the ones that are seeing the most like NIL jumping at them quickly because it's kind of like the draft, right? It's like there's money in each part of the draft and where you're drafted and what round you're drafted and things of that nature. And I think to some caliber, or excuse me, some degree, it's kind of like the stars in the recruiting piece of it. It's kind of like the stars are equivalent to the round or the spot in the pick, the spot your pick happens. So, when we look at contracts and we look at freshmen, I think it's totally fair that when you come in and you take money, when you receive any amount of NIL money to come and play at a university as a freshman, you're recruited. Let's say you're recruited as a 5-star. You come to the University of Georgia and you just took $1 million NIL money to come to Georgia as a 5-star. You sign a contract. You sign a contract saying, and I think this contract needs to have a ton of things in it. You're asking for money. You're asking to be treated like a pro. I think that you should be signing pro contract style deals. Yes, they're young, but we've opened this gate up wide open. They're young, they're kids, but at whatever point we decided to move forward with giving them astronomical amount of money, then therefore it's time for them to be treated like pros. So I think you need to sign contracts to where there's some kind of standard of discipline. There's some kind of standard of going to class. There's some kind of standard. I'm not talking about you having a 4.0 GPA, but I'm saying you go to class, you attend class, and you make some kind of bare minimum, like you're actually trying. I think you have to have some degree of discipline. I think you go and drive 105 mile per hour. You shouldn't have the opportunity to hop in the portal and just go out there and find another bidder and take me on and just wait until I go drive 110 miles per hour and possibly kill somebody because I don't want to fess up to the fact that I made a mistake and I don't want to serve the penalty. So I just hop in the portal and I run. Okay, you can insert whatever name you want in that. Which, if you go back to my show last week, I talked about Nitro Tuggle, and I told you if you want to know what Nitro Tuggle's outlook is for 2025, he will hit the portal. He did, and he's already at Purdue. Um, whether Purdue's going to be this resurrecting football team for him, or just they're that worried about their receiving core, I worry about what that speaks to college football. But then on the lighter part of it, I would say the parts about, you know, them showing up to class and the discipline pieces, you know, give them the red shirt rule, right? If you don't play enough downs to qualify to redshirt, if you can qualify to redshirt and you take money, right? I think you should be able to transfer if you want to. If you are able to redshirt, you should be able to transfer as a freshman. How the money works, if you played that season, you should get that money. That is the chance you take, right? So if it's $1,000,000, you signed a freshman contract saying you're getting $1,000,000 regardless if they play it down or regardless of if they never play it down. You got to do it. Now, does that turn the focus on these coaches trying to play these guys? Yes, there's always gimmicky ways this could happen, but I think it's the only way that it can happen in a fair way, because at the end of the day, regardless of if you burn your red shirt or whatever, I mean, you're seeing players opt out anyway. So at the minute you think your red shirt is going to be burnt, if it's worth enough to you to go find somewhere else to play and to make money off of it, then sit. Do what Nico did. Just sit and leave. You know, if you're that, yeah, I mean, I honestly will tell you that coaches will start to figure you out, and UCLA will figure it out really quickly. Not to harp on it too much, but I mean, I didn't think Nico was going to be that great this year at Tennessee. Um, go put him, and he was going to have one of the best lines that he's played behind since he entered into college football. Now he's going to go out to UCLA with a line that's, I mean, it's an atrocious line, and he's going to have to play behind that. And I don't think he's going to be very good this year. That's just me. When you're looking at sophomores and juniors, right? Same rule applies. Same rule applies as far as the red shirt, But if you took money and if you decide to go somewhere else, you can only do it one time. You can only do it one time. So in other words, if you are a sophomore and a junior and you took money as a sophomore and a junior, if you played enough downs, you got to stay, because you'll see what happens when I hit the senior in a minute. You got to stay. So that means you're invested in your sophomore and junior year. That gets you to your junior year, to where if you have done enough on paper or on video, you're probably eligible to go into the NFL as after your junior year. Now, for seniors, I think it's wide open, right? If you have any seniors or years of eligibility left, you're open to improve your draft stock or play or be seen on tape more. You're open to go do that, right? I think that's fair, because they could be in the draft anyway. You know, do I think it's okay that you know, a player plays 3 years at your school and goes, "What if I want to go get some money?" Fine. I mean, I honestly don't think if they've been 3 years in your system and they're gonna play another year, they trust the process and they're gonna stay. Um, but if they have not received enough playing time, or they figure they have a better opportunity, they will. Now, I would venture to say all of this stays the same, except if your coach leaves. If there's a coaching change, um, I think you should be able to leave. The only thing that gets weird is if there's a coaching change and then you take money, you're out. You can't leave. You can't take money and just leave. But if there's a coaching change and you've previously received NIL money, then you can opt out and you can leave. I do think coaches can change the dynamic of teams. And so, yeah. So already, I think missed my first pick. Uh, Armand Mimbu from they're trying to Carolina's trying to sew up and protect Bryce Young. So no Jalen Walker off the board at 8. So maybe he goes off at my next pick. I think will be 10. We'll see. I think 10 will be my next pick for him. The next best fit. And if I'm not mistaken, that is I don't know. I don't know who the pick is. He may go 10th. Um, so yeah, so NIL wise, I think contracts. I think contracts have to be an answer to everything. And I think the last thing I said was seniors. I think you have the opportunity if you have any eligibility left, or you should be able to be open to improve your draft stock or play or be seen on tape somewhere. It's just fair, right? That's my deal. But I think when you look at NIL as a whole, it's out of control, man. It's out of control, and this Nico deal is just another ploy in everything to just go, what is going on? Like, what is going on with college football? Moving ahead, let's move ahead. Let's get off NIL and let's hop into transfer portal. So some of us have. There's been a lot of moving pieces since the fall, and then even some more moving pieces the last few days. We've had 3 big time transfer portal hits the last week and a half, and I thought it'd be cool to give a little update on who's gone, who we've gotten, and then the latest 3 that we've gotten and what they bring to the table. Some of us are like, who are these last 3 guys? We've heard a lot about the other ones, but what do they bring to the table? Why do we need them? So on and so forth. Um, but obviously, some of these names will sound familiar. Obviously, we know we lost cornerback Julian Humphrey. He transferred out to Texas A&M. Wide receiver Michael Jackson. He ended up at Purdue as well. Defensive tackle Jamal Jarrett transferred to USC. Defensive back Justin Rhett took a flight to Nebraska. Outside linebackers Samuel Mpemba, Texas A&M. Texas A&M really bolstered their roster. Inside linebacker Troy Bowles went out to Michigan. Safety Jake Pope. We all know the story of Jake Pope when he's seen high-fiving the Alabama team after the loss in Tuscaloosa. Kind of got on Kirby's bad side. That's probably not why he's leaving, but when Jake Pope transferred in and didn't see the field, I think he saw the writing on the wall, and he went out there to UNLV to join Dan Mullins' new team out there. Wide receiver Anthony Evans transferred to Mississippi State. Quarterback Jaden Rashada still has not found a home, although he visited North Carolina this week. Outside linebacker Damon Wilson transferred to Missouri. Defensive back Colin Gill, Charlotte, ended up at Charlotte. Quarterback Carson Beck, obviously we know, transferred to Miami. Running back Branson Robinson entered the portal and has still not found a home. Wide receiver Nitro Tuggle recently just signed an NIL deal with Purdue. Offensive lineman Marquise Easley, obviously the other player that was in a little bit of legal trouble from the driving incidents that happened. He entered the portal and he's not chosen a team yet. So let's look at the gets real quick. We're not going to talk a lot about the gets from the guys that have been here and have participated in spring, but we will hit the 3 new ones and what to expect from them. Obviously, the big hitters are USC safety Zion Branch coming in from USC. Obviously, his brother Zachariah Branch. One will play in the secondary, the other will play in the slot. He will start. I think Zachariah will start in the slot. Jaden Harris from Miami, who has seen, I think he's going to see some playing time this year in the secondary. So big get there. Alabama Birmingham safety Adrian Maddox. Wide receiver Noah Thomas from Texas A&M. Micah Bell transferred in from Vanderbilt, the running back there that can bolster that room. And here's the newest 3 of these, and we'll go through these a little bit more in depth. The first one is Elo Madozi from Army. So that's an edge. So we talked about how one of the things we probably need to go after in the portal was some edge depth. We like Gabe Harris over there. We like Quintavious Johnson, but Elo Madozi is going to be a name that you're going to hear. He's a vet guy. He's coming from Army. Was the highest rated defensive transfer in the portal at the time of his commitment per 247. Coming off an exceptional season in which he played in all 14 games, had 17 solo tackles, 17 assists for 34 total, had 8 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. He also defended and passed, blocked 2 passes. Very lengthy, long guy. A Michael Williams type guy, in my opinion. Very long. We're going to use him a lot, like we used Michael. I think he adds that body type that Kirby likes in the defense that we run. And so Madozi is going to give us some versatility at edge. Went and grabbed Joshua Horton from Miami. Big defensive lineman over the last 2 seasons. Horton's played in 8 games, recorded 4 tackles, half a sack, battled injuries in 2024. He did receive an offer from Georgia and defensive line Trey Scott during his initial recruitment, but it didn't seem like the Bulldogs were strongly pursuing his commitment at the time. So ended up going to Miami. It's going to give us some great depth at the defensive line. The big uglies always need depth. They always need depth, and I think that that says a lot about just how serious Kirby is about making sure he's locked and loaded in the defensive trenches. And the last one was obviously something that we felt like with injuries and what we saw last year with the running back room last year, Joshua McCreary from Illinois. McCreary is an interesting study. Comes to us from Illinois, 117 carries, 609 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. Big kid, 6'1", 235, has a physical running style. This is totally Kirby saying, I got to have me a bruiser. I got to have me somebody we can depend on to really bolster through the tackles. Branson hits the portal. Can we depend on Rod? He wants that big body in the middle, and he didn't have it. And so he went and got it. So 6'1", 235, physical running style, tough to bring down on first contact. Does not have elite speed, but he runs with toughness and excellence between the tackles. And that's what Kirby's really going for. He's got Frazier. He's seen some stuff out of Bo Walker. He's seen some good stuff out of Chauncey. I know that there's some roles in there for Cash. There's some roles in there for Dylan. But this is a body they needed in case we didn't see. We just don't know. Rod still isn't back. So we don't really know a lot about Rod. Can't really say a lot about what to expect from him because there's nothing coming out of Athens about Rod, even from the spring, other than he was working out with the training staff. So those are the 3 main bodies from the portal. So let's shift topics a little bit. We want to head into biggest upside to make a difference this year. I thought it would be cool to really throw out some names of some players that we really need to see take a step forward this year for this team to be successful. And I think I have 3 on offense and 3 on defense. And these are just these are not necessarily, there's plenty of players we can look at that we go, they need to have a good year. Obviously, very easy go-tos when you look at to go, we got to have a good year from A, B, C. But these players right here, maybe some players that have not given us an impact at all in the past or are new to the scene, and because of that depth and the names we just talked about leaving the portal, we need to see some good stuff from them. I think offense. I'm sorry. I went to. Actually, I'm going to do defense first. So defense. The name to know, in my opinion, that needs to have a breakout at his position and come out of nowhere. I think it's Justin Williams. And I think Justin Williams has already turned some heads at spring practice. I think Justin Williams has already turned some heads in the locker room. I think he's turned some heads in interview processes. And a lot of you all are like, who is Justin Williams? I'm hearing his name. He led G-Day with tackles this year, although there was a ton of tackles made by a ton of different players. But what does Justin Williams bring to the table? I think he brings elite speed at that linebacker position. I think he reminds me a little bit of an Nakobe Dean I think he has a little bit to grow. I think some size things need to come apart, but I think he's strong. I think he has a physical body type. I think his physicality is there. I think he's smart. I think he's a very good, smart player. Nakobe reminded me a lot of a teacher on the field. Probably the last linebacker that I will go to and go, he was as much needed out there for his alignment of the defense as it was for his ability to tackle and his ability to seek out the run and play the pass. I think he was a teacher of the game. He was an extra coach on the field. And I think this could be a Justin Williams thing this year, even with CJ. We know this is CJ's defense. This is CJ Allen's defense. But I think Chris Cole is not on this list, but he could go right here too. I mean, Chris Cole, and you're going to see him this year. He's wearing number 9, I think, this year instead of 19. Or is that Gabe Harris? I don't know. Maybe Chris Cole is. No, I think he's wearing. I don't know. We'll have to check that out. We'll do a whole show on what number his changes look like. But I think Justin Williams and Chris Cole can kind of both go here. And I think Chris Cole, I talked about it last week. I think he's going to play like that Jalen Walker type, hybrid type, rush the passer, get my hands up, mess with things, make things messy, make things hard to deal with. I just think that's what he adds to the difference in the defense. Both of these guys. But Justin Williams, I think we knew a little bit last year from Cole. I think Justin Williams is that 5-star that when he came in, we're like, we expect big things, but how are we going to get that? And I think now you're starting to see what you're going to get from Justin Williams, but we got to make sure that it transfers to the field, and we got to make sure that we get it. Saints getting ready to pick right here. This might be where you see Michael. Let's see. Haven't seen Jalen Walker off the board yet. Could see that. I don't think you would see Michael before they actually took Kelvin Banks. They went offensive line. Next player on that list, I have Dalen Everett. Now, Dalen Everett was easily a defender that a few years ago, a lot of us would be saying, how in the world are we talking about Dalen Everett as a breakout player? I'm going to tell you why. I think he came back for his senior year. Dalen's a dog, right? We talked so much about him. We talked so much about Dalen getting just bad coverage, bad positioning, hands, being able to go up and get the ball. Dalen was picked on his first few years. This is what sticking it out in Kirby Smart's system does. This is what it does for you. I think it makes you better, makes you a better player, and it definitely in this system is going to make you you're going to get to a spot where you're able to play at a high level. So why Dalen Everett here? I think what's going to make Dalen Everett a breakout wild card is going to be from the ability of, we don't really know how much his injury in the offseason helped our cornerbacks. With him not taking reps in spring, it allowed Daniel Harris, Ellis Robinson, DeMello Jones to all get very important snaps during the spring. I think that helped our cornerback room. I think it helped with our depth. And I think it's going to allow us to bring Dalen Everett down and be that hybrid type Caleb Downs slot. I call it a slot lock. So he's going to be able to drop down and lock some of those really good slot players up. And I think it's going to be key for Georgia this year. I think the ability to put him in there and instead have him there instead of looking for a linebacker to have to come down and cover the slot. And what happens is Dalen Everett, I think he tackles well enough. I think he sees and he can play the run. If you're not playing the run well and you're not tackling well as a cornerback at Georgia, you're not on the field. I mean, I don't want to beat this up, but Ellis Robinson is a mere example of that. He wasn't a very great tackler last year. He wasn't a guy who could come down and be physical in the run game and the bubble screen game. And it didn't bode well. It didn't bode well for him, and I think Ellis Robinson is doing a good thing by staying at Georgia. A lot of people wondered would he leave, but I think he stayed. So this is where Dalen Everett comes into that hybrid type need, and then he's a senior. He knows the system. Can he be that hybrid type guy? Very quick, handsy guy. He's just I'm just curious to see how he comes back from this injury, but I like Dalen Everett this year as a breakout player for all those reasons. And then my third one might be simple and might be understand. There's a lot of players that can go here. Some people are like, well, where's CJ in this? Where's KJ Bolden? They're all there. I mean, we're definitely going to need those spots to come through, but I think KJ is going to be just fine. I think this could be a year or next year. I mean, this year you could see, all first team SEC type numbers from KJ this year. He's that good of a player. I think you can see all SEC numbers from CJ this year. He's that type of player. But I think my third one, if I have to be very open and honest, has to be Christian Miller. I think the years that Georgia had a really great upfront defensive tackle that stuffed the run, could take on double teams. I think those years is when we were most deadly. I think our defenses were most deadly. We had great defenses those years when we had one defensive lineman that could take on double teams, could stuff the run, and could allow linebackers to headhunt. And so I think that's why Christian Miller has to be my third guy here. I think he has the opportunity to pressure the quarterback from that position. Pressure from the middle of that line is hard to take on. It makes teams play to Georgia's strengths, which is their speeded outside linebacker, their ability to track down, run the run game from the safeties. We do that really well. And so I think the defensive line play is so important. I think Christian Miller has to have a healthy breakout year. And I think too, you look at Christian Miller and when you see him on film, he's just always in the right spots. He does a really great job being in the right spots. He plugs the gaps. He takes on double teams. He just does things the right way. And you don't understand the benefit of having a defensive lineman that does that until you see Christian Miller and how if you do the right things in the scheme, good things happen. He's an ideal person to see that. Hopping on the offense. I think my three picks here, a couple of them are going to be, maybe one of them might be the average norm. I think Oscar Delp. He hops out to me real quick. I think you need some things from Oscar Delp this year. You need great tight end play this year. You need him to take on some responsibilities and be a player that Gunner feels like he can go to when he needs a catch. I think Gunner will have people he can go to when he needs a catch, but I think he needs to be able to look at the tight end room and go, who's my guy, right? Oscar Delp's got to be that guy this year. I think his leadership's going to be huge. I think he's going to have a confident quarterback that is not, so swaggy that he can't throw to the tight ends. I think he has a quarterback that's confident in him. I think his catch radius got better. I think he made some great catches in the spring. And I think Oscar Delp run blocks really, really well. Now, do I think he can get SEC first team type numbers? The only thing I think would hold him back from that would be the depth of our tight end room. Will Ethan Barbour get snaps this year? I've heard so many great things about him. Maybe. But Jalen Riddell, if he's healthy, is up there as well and doing a great job. And then obviously Lawson Lucky. I hate to say I'm higher on Lawson Lucky than Delp, but I really like what Lawson brought to the table last year. I really like what he brought to the table. So if I'm betting that Lawson Lucky and Delp are going to share enough snaps to where that might keep Oscar out of, big time stats at the tight end and, things of that nature. But I like Delp as a player that's got to break out. You got to have that guy over there you can trust. You're not going to be a Brock Bowers, but you got to be an Oscar Delp. You got to block well. You got to catch well. You have to be a threat at the tight end. Once again, the years where the tight end play was valuable, it was valued, and it was actually treated as a threat. which I don't think it was last year, are the years that Georgia went and did big things, the years that they won national championships and really were a threat. Yes, we won an SEC championship last year, and yes, there were times when our tight end was a threat. But I don't know if our quarterback took our tight ends very seriously last year due to some drops early on. Moving along, I think you can put either one of these names, but because Monroe Freeling was out for the spring, and because of the promise that I saw from this guy, I got him in here. Ernest Green. I think Ernest Green needs to have a breakout year. I'm already seeing some change in Ernest Green. I'm seeing him he's a little bit slimmer at spring practice. We talk about what could have been still. Like, is this one of those, you look back and go, well, what could have been with Ernest Green? Do we get a shot to replay that and go, it still can be, right? I think it can. I think his size and his quickness, he's healthy. He's got that big NFL body, strong. He obviously wants to be a dog. He could have gone to the portal. A lot of these players are going to the portal. It's cool to see all these offensive linemen they're either hitting the weights or they're hitting the draft, which is good. Yeah, we're replacing a lot on that line. You could easily put Monroe Freeling in there as well. You could easily put Monroe Freeling in there. But I think Ernest Green goes here because we know Monroe's ceiling. And I think right now Monroe's ceiling is still very much the floor. He's on the floor. He's got so much upside. I think Ernest Green, we've seen, him flirting with the ceiling of, is he not growing? Is he not continuing to grow? I think he grew a lot in the spring, and I think he needs to have a breakout year for Georgia. Now, last thing I would say is quarterback relationship. I think you're going to see a quarterback that has an offensive line that blocks for him this year, that wants to block for him, that has more invested than just, I don't know, a couple of dinners and maybe some watches. And I don't know. NIL is changing everything, so who knows, right? And the last one might be a captain obvious, but the reason he's here is because he hasn't played. He didn't play last year. He played in one game last year, and we don't know really what he could have brought to that game because he had a few weeks to get ready for it. But he's just not used to being with his team, right? He is this year. When I say with this team, as a starter, as taking the team and leading them out on the field. So I look at Gunnar Stockton, right? And I would think you would say, well, this is an easy one. Yeah, it is an easy one, but he's got to have a breakout year. And when I say breakout, he doesn't have to go break records. He just has to have a breakout year. He has to do things that we didn't do last year at the quarterback position. He brings moxie. He brings a team player mentality. It's about them and not him, is what I wrote. Playbook knowledge, huge. He's been in the system for 3 years. 3 years. He ran the scout team to a T. I used to hear them talk all the time about how he just was different. He really challenged the first and second team offenses, first team defense. When he was playing scouting quarterback, he was a person that wanted to try and go out there and give them great looks. It reminds me of Rudy. He's like, look, how are they supposed to be ready for Purdue if I don't give it my all? He's totally right. I mean, we may live in a day where those scout team players will be, I don't know, they might be receiving NIL money too. Who knows? Are we going to be faster at quarterback? Like, are legs going to be a thing this year? Maybe. I think Gunnar has a little bit more athletic born speed than Carson did. And I think we threw the deep ball really well at G-Day. So you can't look at completions and you can't look at stats on that because of the, lack of complexity in the routes and the lack of complexity in the defensive calls. But I think for the vanilla style play calls and how much we went deep, I thought we threw the deep ball really well during spring. So, yeah, so those are my kind of lookouts for breakout seasons right there. Justin Williams, Dalen Everett, Christian Miller on the defensive side of the ball. Offense, Oscar Delp, Ernest Green, Gunnar Stockton. And then finally tonight, I want to get into some questions. Haven't seen a dog go off the board yet. 49ers just took a tight end off the board. The 49ers pick is in. Shedeur Sanders still sitting there. Late for Shedeur. Really late. So, big question: will this team be as good as last year? Everybody's asking this question. This is the end all be all question, and I answered it last year pretty. Uh, I answered it pretty straightforward. But this was before knowing now that we've added a little bit of depth. Um, the questions I had on whether this team would be a notch better, and this is a team that could have won the national championship last year. This is a team that won an SEC championship last year. So just because I'm saying this team may be a little bit better doesn't mean, well, a little bit means there's not good enough. No, I think even when you look at this team being a little bit better, that means you get a little bit better offensive play, a little bit better quarterback play, and a little bit better wide receiver play. Um, and I think we tackle better. I think this team is very close to being a team that is they're worried about already, but they will be a very much a written in and pin contender to make it even as far as the championship game and win an SEC. Uh, if that is what the take is from everybody, nobody might agree with me, but I do think and the bias is there obviously, but I do think this team will be better next year. And what really pushed me over was Kirby going out there and understanding he needed some depth in three main positions. He understood the assignment with Branson. He understood the assignment with Rod, and knowing and this I don't say it worries me about Rod, but it kind of says a few answers with Rod that they're still not really tracking well uh, with what's going on. I don't even know with Rod's injury if he's like, what does that say? Does that say to Rod that he knows that the writing is on the wall? The writing's on the wall with this injury, because wouldn't you think you see Rod maybe at the transfer portal? I don't know, but McCrary brings in basically what we were hoping Rod would bring into us, right? The depth. 49ers take Michael Williams. He is the first dog off the board, unless I missed it. Unless I missed it, I might have. It's crazy because Jalen Walker is still on the board. Pretty sure. I think the depth we added at the edge is huge. I think adding the depth with Madozi is going to be huge, as well as depth in the defensive line. And I think what it says about our offense is that we're happy with the receiver room. We're happy with the offensive line. The injury uh, the injury prognoses are on point and they're on track. But I think with the defense, I think running back says we don't know though. I think with the defense, it says we do know, but we're still going to be thin there. And we do know, but we still may be thin there. And the way injuries happen in the trenches, we went to the safety in the offseason, and we needed to go to the edge. We needed to go to the trenches, and we needed to go to the running back room, especially after Branson. And who knows? That could have been in the works. That could have been why Branson, it would be like Kirby to have a conversation with Branson and go, hey, look, I don't want this to discourage you, but we're thinking about bringing in, you know, and Branson going, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to maybe hit the portal and let me know. So that's it for the show tonight. I hope it was in line. It was fun. I don't have anything else. So looking forward to continuing this off season content. We got so much to talk about, and so ready to continue to rev up into this off season and into fall practice. We're going to do some things like we're going to look at a ton of different ways we think things could land. Obviously, new playoff format is hit. We have dates for that. So much things we can talk about. The upside, the downside, hot or cold, on whether we're buying some of these scenarios. We're going to do buy or sell very soon again. So make sure you tune in. If you have not already done so, make sure you follow us on YouTube. Go and click that like button and let us know that you liked it. Give us a follow. Facebook, Dogs Down South, Twitter, Dogs Down South, TikTok, Dogs Down South. And 24 hours later, go find us on Apple Podcasts, so you can catch up with this episode 24 hours later and all of the other 50 some odd episodes that we already have up there. So for myself and for all of Dog Nation, hope you continue to enjoy the draft. I hope tons of dogs get off this board soon and go because they deserve it. And as always, have a great night and go Dogs.